Hey everybody, we got a great webinar for you today. But before we get started, we're going to let people trickle in here for the next 60 seconds or so. In the meantime, use the question and answer area and tell us what your role is and where you're dialing in from today.
Yes. Max, that's my favorite thing that nobody does on webinars, by the way.
They don't tell them where they're coming from?
Because everybody wants to do this webinar as like this one-way thing, and like you just get people and you're like, oh, Bob in Miami, this is going to be amazing. So let's shout them out. I love it.
Yeah, once they start trickling in, I mean, we always get people from all over the world. I mean, we got somebody in, let's see, sales in Vancouver here.
Nice.
We got somebody in Michigan. Todd from Everyone's Social, located in ... Navin in Vancouver.
Okay.
All right.
Everyone's Social's in PA.
We got the north covered. What about the south?
That's the West Coast.
Marketing Ops in Atlanta.
All right,
Marketing Ops, shout out.
David in Manhattan, started a sales and marketing consultant firm recently.
Stick your head out the window, wave to him.
Another practice leader, Market Source ATL. Yeah, exactly. I'm in New York right now also. It's freezing.
Let's go.
More New York. H-Town holding it down.
Nice.
We got VP Sales, Chicago, Illinois. Rhonda in Des Moines.
All right.
The Naples, Florida.
Wow.
Looks like Todd at Everyone's Social implemented Drift 2 weeks ago. There you go.
All right.
Shout out, Todd. We
Thanks,
love
Todd.
you.
Thank you.
Helen from Seattle.
Oh.
Brian from the Six. All right, we got more Canada in the house. MD in Grimsby, United Kingdom.
Oh, they got the UK going. All right.
Charlie from LA, but in our Honduras site right now.
What?
Whoa.
What company is that?
Yeah, who is that?
Charlie, what company are you with?
He can't say.
Let's see.
Free advertising. Let's go.
Collective Solution.
Collective Solution. All right. I'm putting him down for one.
Armin's literally writing down leads.
I got leads right here. This is lead capture right here.
All right. Well, all right. So we gave people some time. I like that everybody gets to click into the Q&A area.
How you doing?
Get used to using it because we're going to have a very conversational webinar today for the next hour or so. If you have any questions at all along the way, ask them in the Q&A area. We'll either get to them during that part of the conversation if we see a gap. If not, we'll get to them at the end. If not, I'm going to send them to Dave and Armin, and they'll get to them on their own. So in 2 short years, Drift has acquired 70,000 businesses and taking the marketing and sales world by storm. Pretty impressive, guys. I mean, that's pretty incredible at this point, even in I don't know the where we're at in the sales and marketing space today, with so many different technologies that are out there. And you're doing it. You guys are like almost creating a space out of nowhere, right? I mean, I see your no forms sticker on there, and that was the way it was done for a long time. People fill out forms, then if you filled out a form, you wouldn't get a response right away. Then you go back to doing the whatever was happening in your day. By the time a rep actually followed up with you, you were on to something else, and then you gotta get on a call, do a discovery call. Then after the discovery call, there's the demo. You got to rope people in, and using something like using a chat on page like pretty much gets you right through the discovery and into like the actual meat of things. So it's pretty incredible what's happening in the space right now. So I mean, what we all really want to know is how the hell did you get there so fast? 70,000 customers. So what was it like? Take us through like the first 10 customers, the first 100 customers.
Well, I think what's fun about doing this is like Armin. Let's see, Armin's been here since January. So it was like when I started at Drift, it was like one marketer, which is me, and then like eight engineers and designers, and so nobody was selling. I mean, everybody was selling, like the whole like startup thing, like founders sell. Everybody was selling, but it didn't really become real until Armin joined in. So I think we should spend a lot of time unpacking that in the sales process. But the first 10 people was just like, it was literally we still do it today, right? You still do it. Like I watched you do it. We have thousands of customers today, and I still see Armin go hand to hand. We call it hand to hand, which is like, I know Max, they should be using Drift. I got to go make it happen. And so like we didn't have the luxury of Our founders were well known, David and Elias, but we had no website traffic, we had no website, we had no blog, and so like we were going door to door and asking people for stuff. But the thing when it's really started to take off for us is what we did is we used a lot of companies. They go out in the early days and they do all of this like market research, and they call it customer development. And so I would just follow Matt, our product manager, who was going around and doing all these interviews with people. And I would just turn the notes that we were taking, like you go to all these conversations and you talk to all these people who we wanted to sell to and just try to learn from them. But then each one of those discussions, something comes up and you're like, there's one thing that drives all these people crazy, right? And so at the time we were trying to sell to product marketers, a subset of marketing. And we talked to 20 of them and I noticed that they all had the same one pain point together. We didn't have a product yet to deliver on it. So I just started a newsletter. I said, I'm going to start a blog and a newsletter for product marketers. And so before we had a product, we started to build an audience. And so people didn't know what Drift did. They're like, who the hell is Drift? Like a weird company, they have 2 T's in their name at the time. We could talk about that. But we had this we had a newsletter, we had a blog, and like 100 subscribers turned into 200 and turned into 300 and turned into 400, all the way on up. And so then when we actually had something to launch, we had an audience to launch it to. And so the biggest thing that drives me nuts about early stage companies that I either talk to or read about or learn from is everybody wants to wait to do sales and marketing. They want to wait. And it's like, what are you waiting for, right? You have to get somebody's attention first before you can sell to them. You're not just going to roll out of bed one day and be like, I'm ready to sell today and here, buy my product. And so we focus on building an audience from day one. And I know that was helpful for when we were finally ready to bring on a sales leader and bring Armin, and Armin came on and started to build it. Sales. Like we actually had something, right? We weren't saying like, there were thousands of people that we could go sell to when he started, right?
That's right. Yeah. I think the other thing is that don't let him I came and we started selling, but the foundation was set, right? DG, I mean, we had 3 marketers when I first got here, and I've never seen any marketing team put out more energy into the marketplace than these 3 marketers that were there at the time. And so the new currency for getting your brand notoriety is the energy that you put out in the market, not the amount that you spend anymore, right? And so Instagram, Facebook, tweeting, we still do the hard stuff that it takes to get the energy out in the market. And that's the superpower of the marketing team here at Drift.
Yeah, I mean, it's honestly when we started to do this webinar together, I said, I'll do it, but I want to be able to record a video and post it on Max's LinkedIn and tap into that audience, because I know that no matter what I can write on a landing page or give you guys an intro to read, like the best marketing is being real. And so like we try to be I try to be the same person that you would hear on a podcast, on a video, as you would if you came into our office and we had a meeting. And I think like everyone's bullshit meter is just so high these days because, like you said, there's literally 7,000 companies in the MarTech space. And so for us to think we were going to just stroll into the marketing and sales, space, right? And be like, and we are also going to have you fill out our forms and go through our landing page process. Like, so from day one, David and Elias just pushed us to do things differently. And that was super fun, but it was also really damn hard because we couldn't do things a traditional way, right? Like, and Armin will talk a lot about this, but like, we couldn't just do things the way everybody else did them, because then we'd be just like all the other 7,000 vendors in this space. And we knew we weren't going to win because we were going to get 2% more people to fill out the form on our landing page than the other guys.
Do you draw from any inspiration? I know you didn't want to do what other people are doing, but did you have other sites that you drew inspiration from, or did you say, oh, I really liked how these guys did it, this is the culture, or this is the style I want to go with?
Do you remember what did they tell you when you were interviewing with them? Did they say like you had to build a different sales team? No.
They told me when I walked in the door.
Sell. They're like sell.
Yeah.
No, so the inspiration, I mean, honestly, the honest answer for the inspiration stuff is we actually don't look at B2B at all,
right?
Because we believe that B2B is broken, and that's actually why Drift exists. And so I mean, of course, there's great companies in the marketing and sales space, right? Like, Salesforce. My favorite book as a marketer is Behind the Cloud, the Salesforce book, right? And how they grew is amazing. And so if you're in sales and marketing on this webinar and you haven't read it, I would definitely go read it. But we've been pushed to look at inspiration from B2C and consumer, like, so brands like Apple, brands like Nike, brands like Patagonia. And the reason why is because like now today, the world that we were going into, like I can buy anything from my phone except business software, which is like crazy if you think about that, right? And so we've always been trying to think of like, so like last week I was on a call learning from the former CMO of Sephora, who sells makeup, right? Like we're just trying to always learn from that and say, hey, what did these people do in the physical world? Because things are so broken online. How can we learn from them? So we spend a lot of times with those types of brands and thinking about how people like you and I actually buy.
So let's go into the actual process. No BDRs, no phones, no email blasts.
I'm going to step out. You
What was that like? I mean, so you had a little bit of a funnel.
Wait, I don't think you emphasized that enough. No BDRs, no phones.
No phones.
How the hell do you
There's
sell?
no phones. 30, how many people out there? No phones. No phones. And no email blasting, right? Like, so all the tools that you would traditionally use when you start a sales organization, I walked in and David's like, no, we're not doing that. No, we're not doing that. And he said it right. Did they tell you that in the interview? No. And I said, I tell my wife all the time, like, I've never been more prepared for a role like this, but like all the tools that I know how to be successful taken away at the same time, right? Like, it's just like, holy crap, what do I do now, right?
Like, hey, Max, you got to get in the best shape of your life, but you can't go to the gym.
Can't go to the gym.
You
can't run.
You're out there finding rocks and like pushing boulders, right? Like,
but I think the reason it took me a long time I just did it. Like I said, okay, fine. Like, let me figure it out. I'm not going to win this battle and it's his company. So let me figure it out. Right. I think the lesson that I learned, it's kind of like Rocky when he goes out to like when he goes out to Russia and he's got to like, just like you said, like running out the field and stuff. Yeah. Like I had to go through the hard work to figure out what the lesson was. And the lesson was back to what DG said, which was like, sales and marketing, the way we sell to businesses is broken because we jammed so much automation in between the salesperson and the guy or gal who wants to buy that they can't even have a conversation anymore. And it's already prescripted before they even get on the phone, right? I'm going to do BANT criteria. I know I'm going to have somebody ask me BANT questions when I get on the phone. So there's this lack of humanity and like conversation happening. It's a script that's pre-written that you're going to have to follow both as the salesperson and as a buyer. And there's no realness in there anymore. Yeah. And so that's what David wanted me to learn and our sales team to learn. And like, can we discover something new? And it's actually something old, which is, can you get two humans back together talking about a product and service and a problem and see if there's a match, right? And so that's what we did.
Yeah, describe that conversational sales attitude or that customer first attitude. How do you put that together at a startup? And can you do that if you don't have the inbound flow? If you need to go outbound, is that for everyone?
Yeah.
So I think there's a couple different things in there. Like number one, the thing that we've been talking about a lot is if you really think about it, no sale has ever been made without a conversation happening.
That's right.
Right? But all the tools in marketing and sales just choke it down to say like, here, Armin, you can talk to me now because I'm perfectly ready to buy. Like, that's ridiculous. And so like, of course, this is like the ultimate marketing problem, which is like, how do I get customers if I have no traffic, right? If you don't have inbound lead flow, then you have to do other things. But I think you can actually be better at conversational selling if you're going outbound.
Right. Because
outbound, what is the math on outbound? Like you send 1,000 emails and you get like 5 responses, maybe, right? And so we've actually been taking this approach on outbound where here's a secret. You have to actually do your research. And nobody wants to believe this. They want to send 10,000 emails and wake up with good responses. But if you ask anybody, when was the last time? I know every automated email that I get in my inbox. Some of them are better than the others, right? But it's the people who say, I get this email 5 times a day. David, as a VP of marketing at Drift, you probably know that lead generation is your biggest frustration. Like everyone does that, right? The best conversations are when somebody reaches out to me and said, hey, Dave, I noticed you guys aren't using any social media monitoring tools. Is there a reason for that? You get a lot of brand mentions. Like, that's it. That's all the emails. That is the best email you could send me. And so I think the answer is everybody wants some shortcut and they want some like, very plug and play answer. Like, yeah, I send 5,000 emails and I get this, but the world just doesn't work like that anymore. There's too much noise. I always say that, like, I love thinking back to like the late 90s or the early 2000s, like that guy who was doing email marketing for the first time, he was probably getting like 90% open rates and 80% click rates. But I know that by the time I get off this webinar, I'm going to have 500 emails in my inbox. And so you have to find a way to cut through the noise. Right. One thing that Armin's team does really well is like they'll email you and they'll call you from their cell phone and they'll tweet at you and they'll find something on LinkedIn and comment on that. And so it becomes this real authentic thing. There is no like set it and forget it approach.
Right. I think that we try to do the things that don't scale, right? Which is to reach out and connect at their level and meet the buyer where they are rather than trying to control the entire process and have them follow our buying process. All we're trying to do is engage with them. And after engaging with them, we actually let the reins up a little bit and let them take us down the path, right? Which is a little bit of a it was a little bit of a leap of faith as a sales leader to be able to, we're not going to qualify people with band criteria. Yes, we're going to ask qualifying questions, but we're not going to run them through a rigid a conversation around like discovery. We're going to have a discovery conversation, right? And we're going to let them control the conversation, get the information that they need. They took the time to come to our site and talk to us. Why should we then try to control the whole conversation and steal their time, right? That's the whole point. And when you do that, that's when they engage more, and you get more engagement, real engagement, and trust, right?
What he said is the key to this whole thing. That's how you get real engagement. The problem that most people make is they want to have their cake and eat it too. They want the good modern results with the old playbook. Right. And it doesn't work like that, right? Like I can't go out, the example that I use all the time, right? I can't go walk out to the street in Boston right now and wave my hand and get an Uber and get the great experience of an Uber, right? Like there's a whole new way of doing it. You have to pull out your phone, you have to use the app. And so like the same thing is true in sales and marketing, which is like the biggest fear that sales and marketing teams have had is, I get what you guys are saying at Drift, but like, I can't give up the reins. But what people don't understand is when you give up the control, you're actually going to get more back, because then I'm being a real person and you're having a real conversation. And if you go to Armin's sales team and you pull the top 5 sales reps, they all have one thing in common, is that they would have the same conversation with me in the elevator. There's no like sales guy Max versus, regular Max. Like they are the same. Right. They are the same genuine people. And that's who and especially think of it like this. We're selling marketing software to people like me, right? In all honesty, is some BDR at some company going to know more about marketing than me? No. Yep. And that's not to say I haven't been doing this forever. Just like this is what I do and live and breathe every single day. And so you're not going to reach out to me and try and convince me that you know marketing better. And so the only way there is to act like a tour guide. And people want the help. They want the tour guide help. They want to say, hey, you're new to Toronto. Let me show you around, right? I can show you, maybe you should go eat here. Oh, you like lobster? Okay, you should go here, right? That's how it's got to work.
I think what people don't realize is the person that asks the questions controls the conversation. And so from your email example, that person just asked you a simple question. Now, when you provide your answer, they can use that to create the conversation that they want to have with you, instead of a lot of the times you get an email and it's like, did you know we can do this, this, and this? We do this for other companies, your competitors, and we have a 45% uptake in this. And you don't even like, they haven't asked you any questions yet, so they don't even know what part of the product they think is most valuable to them. So you guys have a really interesting way of looking at it, and it's definitely the future of sales. And you're asking the right questions early on, and navigating or kind of hand-holding them through that, painting that picture for them, instead of just serving something up and thinking that the deal's going to close right away. I think people are very impatient and want to close the sale right away instead of going through those steps. And you're saying, all right, take it a little slower and have that conversation first, which is great. So we have a question. Armin, what tools facilitate that social engagement that you're talking about? How much do you spend on engagement per lead? And what length of your sales cycle seems like you could social touch me today and let it ride till I make a relevant post that speaks to my needs?
Okay. Yeah. So a couple of things. I think we use Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, any means at our disposal to reach out and make that human to human connection and meet the customer where they are. We have people that like say, hey, I'm looking at one of your competitors in Drift, and I'll tweet at him saying, hey, I got your back. I'm the VP of sales here. I won't let you down. If you want me on the phone with your team, you got me. DC or DG will tweet at him. Then the sales rep will tweet at him. And all of a sudden, you've got this community around this brand that goes to the buyer that's thinking about it and says, holy crap, here's a company that took the time, the leaders in the company say, hey, we got your back. We're engaged with you. We won't let you fall. We'll make sure you're successful. And imagine like you could do that with all these people. So number of touches, it's as many as it takes to get the customer to feel comfortable that they want to engage with you. Right?
People, this is the hard part, right? Yeah. Armin's answer is hard because it's the truth. People want some magic number. They want us to say it's about
5.5.
It's about 60. Yeah, it's about 60 cents per engagement, and then because then you can plug that into a spreadsheet. Yeah. The hard part is like I have no idea, but it works, right? When you see. Like we literally have people that comment on LinkedIn, on our LinkedIn. I posted a LinkedIn video of me just saying some, marketing stuff that I do on LinkedIn. Yeah. And Allie, who's one of our best reps, was sitting on the floor giving a demo. And somebody who she had sold to like 2 weeks ago commented on the demo and was like, oh, I see Allie. What's up, Allie? Like, in what world does that happen today where like somebody who bought is like has a real relationship? And so it's hard. It's really hard because like there is no perfect answer. But I also think it's easy for us, and this is why like this comes up a lot. It's easy for us because this has been top down at the company, right? The founders, the executive team, everybody here really cares about those one-to-one personal relationships. And so we don't ever have the question like DC will never go to me or Armin and be like, why are you guys spending so much time replying to people on Twitter, right? Like because he fundamentally knows in the DNA of this company, like they know that's valuable. And so it's hard if you're at a more traditional place. Like I can see how that would be a hard thing.
So Armin, sticking with you here, I want to know the first rep that you had that you brought on. What's the difference between the first rep and the last rep that you hired?
Oh, we've gone down a winding road with different reps and like it's all an experiment, right? So our first rep was an SE at another company, and it was his first hand in sales, and from him to like our 15th rep, he was a still top performing rep every single month, which was, I know, something that normally doesn't happen, and so it was amazing.
But tell me, he was like he had to technically like
he had a very strong, but he had a very strong technical background. But typically SEs don't make great salespeople, and he was really amazing. So I was like, okay, technically like really understood the product, and now I think the latest reps that we have. I don't think they know even a quarter or a tenth of what Kevin knows about our product technically, but blow his numbers away from the first couple of months that he was selling. And I think it's because we've really optimized how we have that conversation, and we get leads right in their hands right away that from people that are coming to the website using our own product. So I'm a new rep. I come in. I get a little bit of training. On day 4 or 5, I'm on our website talking to people that are on our website. I got somebody backing me up when I don't know the answer. And I start talking to people and I get a conversation going. And I have the confidence to say, hey, have you seen enough to be able to make a decision today? Sometimes they say yes. And there, lo and behold, the rep has a deal in the first 3 to 5 days they're here. That confidence and credibility goes up. And we don't have to sit them in 3 weeks of classes to learn every knickknack about our product to be able to get somebody convinced that there's value in it for them. So I think that's the biggest change between rep number 1 and now. I think we needed to go through that process to be able to understand what's required in a conversation versus not.
Yeah. Even just being on the other side, like seeing the reps, I think like the very early reps, a couple of them who are still here, they were the ones who were like, I don't care if I get 1 lead or 100 leads or 1,000 leads, or if this deck is right, or if the sales process. They didn't care about the sales process. They didn't care about the marketing stack. Like, like if you're joining a startup, a venture-backed startup or whatever, or even bootstrap, if you're joining a startup as sales rep 1, 2, 3, like it's different than when you show up today. When you show up today, it's like, here you go. Here's your training packet. Here's your little like piece of leads that you get for the first couple of weeks before we give you all of them. Like, so I think it's a mentality thing. Like, I know that you could just tell that the people that Armin was bringing in a year and a half ago were different in a good way from today, which is like they were a little bit scrappier. They didn't care much about his process. They were more willing to be like, all right, Max, so do you want to buy now or what? Where today it's a little bit of different sale, and I think it's all for the better. But I think the early ones are like much more of the like 2 or 3 sport athletes than today.
That's right.
And so you started out in what segment of the market, and you've worked your way up market at this point, or how's that work?
Yeah, I think we have all kinds of verticals that we service. I think the center of mass right now for us is technology companies, SaaS businesses, B2B SaaS companies that, they have high pressure to grow. They've got investment and backers that are looking for a return, and they adopt technology relatively quickly. So that's been the fastest path for us. And we've had hospitality, we've got security, and a bunch of other spaces that are taking us up as well. B2C as well. So it's been pretty much anybody who wants to engage more on the site.
There's a good lesson in there, which is like, Drift is actually applicable to any business. I think if you have a website, you can use Drift, but that wouldn't have been a very good business for us. And from a sales and marketing perspective, if we said we sell to everybody, because if you're everything to everyone, you're nobody, right? Like nobody raves about that one menu item at the Cheesecake Factory. You just know that there's 100 things on the menu. And so for us, we were just we saw early traction within like B2B SaaS demand gen people and sales reps. And so we just went hard there. But yeah, I mean, if you look at our, we have car dealerships, we have everybody closing deals via Drift, but the reps and sets of the sales team is all kind of like, right. Hey, where are my B2B? Where are my B2B companies? Okay, you maybe close a couple deals from other verticals, but it's all focused there in the middle.
Right. And what's the balance between inbound and outbound, and how has that changed over time?
Yeah, we are probably about 85% inbound right now on our SMB segment, and then we have an enterprise segment that's largely outbound. And we did some experiments with mid-market and try to do more of the outbound playbook, and it just kind of wasn't us, really. We grew this business on the back of the product that we developed, and I strongly believe we couldn't have grown as fast as we grew over this past 15 months without our own product. And if you think about it, it makes a lot of sense, right? If I said to DG, hey, we need a lot of leads, then we're gonna score at the MQLs, and then we're gonna whittle it down and nurture them down to a small subset, and then we're gonna have BDRs, band criteria, questioning and discovery, and then we're finally gonna get sales calls at the back end of that. We would be able to feed probably, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 reps at this point, and we have over 40 reps at Drift right now, and going from 2 to 40 in 15 months. So that wouldn't have happened without using our product. So we're mainly optimized for inbound. We drive people, like I said, we put energy out into the market, and we get that back in the form of visitors on our site, and we engage with over 20% of the visitors that come to our site every day.
Speaking of inbound, Dave, I want to go into how you're getting the team currently to basically, you have this almost like this process where you put something out on LinkedIn and everybody else shares it. So I saw a lady on your team that was doing something while she was skiing, talking about a product release.
Unbelievable, right?
That's incredible. Yeah. I'm not a good skier, so yeah, I would have hit on that, and that probably would have been viral at that point. But so how do you get the whole team to engage in that? Is that a coordinated effort to the T, or is that something that is a little bit more passive, like, hey, here's what's coming out today, I need everybody to post about it?
I love that everybody asks them this question because the answer is so simple.
Yeah, the answer is we ask them. Honest to God, we ask them, and I think that just says a lot about the team and the culture and the company that we have. Where, like, I said this actually at a company meeting last week. I get so excited. Like, the most fun part about me that we're growing so fast is that every new employee that joins, they have a Twitter profile, they have a LinkedIn page, like they're going to amplify what we're doing. Yeah. And I think, like, look, I think there's actually a lot in there. And so what we realized is, like, LinkedIn videos were blowing up. We did them on our own. I was doing them on my own. DC was doing them, and we got a ton of traction from them. And so we had this crazy idea, which is like, what if when we launch this next product, we ask 120 people at Drift to all do LinkedIn videos on that day. We didn't tell them what to do or where to do it, but then all of a sudden, organically, they all posted videos, and it just took over LinkedIn. We generated 300,000 views, and we didn't spend $1, and it was the biggest traffic day we've ever had. Which I say that openly, that I'm not a numbers guy, but I think that's good math. But what happened was, like, people just started trying to one up each other. And so Alexa, who's one of our PMs, she was actually on vacation, and she had FOMO that everybody was posting these videos, and she posted this video from, like, Big Sky skiing. Yeah. And then Castillo, one of our reps who's in San Francisco, he walks into a coffee shop and he asks a barista a question and, like, posts that on LinkedIn, and just, like, it just became this, like, internal thing. And the reason why, it's not just that, like, a lot of people did it, but it's because, to me, like, the best marketing is real and authentic, and there's no better way to know Drift. We are not a logo. We are not cartoon images. Like, I really do think that that you get to feel us, and all the best brands out there, like, that's what they are. Is they're real, they're authentic, they're human, and that really helps knock down that bullshit meter that I mentioned earlier. But also, just think about the way that we all behave. Like, the reason that channels like Snapchat and Instagram stories and Facebook Live and LinkedIn video have blown up is because you can't fake any of those channels. Right. That's actually why I love this format for a webinar with no slides, because you have to look at me and Armin's ugly mugs this whole hour, because it's the realest form of marketing we can do. I'm just talking to you, right? Like. Yeah. And so if we can just get out there and talk, like, you're going to get a sense for who I am, my imperfections, right? You're going to get a sense of, like, who we really are. And if you go back and study all the best marketing and salespeople from, like, direct response copywriters, their number one tactic that they had was to address all the objections and flaws and misbeliefs and imperfections up front, so you feel more real, you're more authentic. And I think that's just everything about what our marketing is today.
That's amazing. Yeah. And sales and marketing are kind of blending together more and more as you go on. So your salespeople are some of your best marketers. and vice versa. You have to think like each other. We have a question from the audience here that kind of dives right into that. So a drift implementation involves both the sales and marketing departments. It seems that drift targeted marketing and then got them to convince sales. Is that right? How does the dynamic work?
When we're onboarding somebody, I think it's funny because we kind of, and why I joined Drift was, listen, I was a sales leader for a long time, and the same argument that I was having 12 years ago, I had the year before I came to Drift, which was the quality and the quantity of the leads. The marketer saying, how come you're not calling all these leads? There's another, 2% that we can convert out of the next 1,000 leads that your sales team can call. And I'm like, screw you, I'm not spending all this time calling those 2,000 leads to get another 100 leads so that you can get credit. Like, I don't care. I want to go get the next best ones, right? And that was the rub. And the reason why I went to Drift is because we could start to bridge that gap, and we're starting to bring sales and marketing back together, where it's like, we want the best quality leads. They want the best credit for all of it, right? And they don't want to wait for somebody to fill out a form and for a BDR to call it before they get credit for driving the right traffic to the site. And so now we're partners because we get them access to getting credit faster by engaging with the people on the site. And I get the warmest leads the fastest at the same time doing that same activity. So it brings us together. The hard part that DG talked about, which is like, that mental model of like we're opposing forces in an organization, is still something that we fight every day when we're trying to bring this product to market.
I mean, you
bridge
you
that
have
gap,
to
right?
your sales process, like in the set, you have to navigate both lanes, right?
Both
like
lanes.
if you're selling
Absolutely.
to a demand gen person, you also then
We
have to go find out who's the sales.
Because the sales guy will say, listen, we've tried chat before, it's a waste of time, we're not going to use it. And then the marketer goes, crap, I don't think I can get it past here because I don't have anybody that's going to use it. So we have to kind of like, it's like a peace summit, like bringing them together and saying like, guys, we really can do this for you. Like, trust us, let us do this, let us run it for 30, 60 days. And we try to bring people back together. I mean, we talk to departments that in companies that they don't talk to the other side of the table. And we're like bridging the gap, talking back and forth, like we're negotiating a peace summit. Like, seriously, it's unbelievable.
Yeah. Is that part of the original sale, or is that CSM's job?
It starts with the original sale. And what we try to do is get commitment and buy-in so that when the CSM walks in, everybody's sitting at the table. And we do onboardings where there's like 10, 12 people in the room. You got demand gen, you got VPs of marketing, you've got the sales guy, you've got the BDR guy, and they're all in a room or gal, and bringing them all together and saying, hey, listen, this is what we're going to achieve. Here's the metrics we're going to measure, and you're all going to benefit from it, and try to get that all together on one page for a period of time so that we can prove the value.
Yeah, the worst fit customers like are the ones who we don't navigate that process with.
That's right.
Because it is crazy if you think about it. On the surface, if you're like, wait, we're going to tell you you're going to bring more revenue, why would you not use this? But everybody has different personal goals, right? And so if you are the sales ops person or the marketing ops person inside that company, as much as we can tell you about revenue, you don't care.
Right.
You get paid on whether the systems work together or this thing or that thing. And so like, I think as our sales process has evolved, it's become understanding like who are all the people that touch this and making sure that they're all on the same page and they're going to go to bat together. And so like, if you were going to sell us Drift internally, you probably start with me and getting leads, but then I would have to go get Armin's buy-in and say, hey man, we're going to do something new in the process here. You're going to get leads. They're going to be more, they're going to be better, but it's going to be different.
Right.
And so it really depends on, you have to get just back to all the good selling principles. Like you do have to find that champion who's willing to go to bat for you, because you can't be on every call or every conversation.
And you've armed all of your sales reps to understand how to do this. Is this something that they've had to learn when they've come into Drift, or is this something that they already understand how to do?
No, we learned it on our way on the path down the road when we first started selling it last year. And I think it's been part of the onboarding since then. Is like, listen, you have to have buy-in from both the person that owns the metric, but the buy-in from the team that's going to use the product. And you have to have buy-in on what the common metric that we're going to impact that everybody cares about. And sometimes that's the most difficult part of the conversation, back to what DG said, because everybody's measured differently.
Yeah, or like what Armin said earlier about like, it is crazy. The cool part about this is you realize how much room there is for making things better. The amount of companies that we talk to where the incentives for marketing and sales are not aligned. No. Like, I don't want to give Armin this tool because like I want to have these 5,000 leads, and if I get these 5,000 leads, then I get my bonus, right? Whether they close or do anything or not. And so like we really are starting to see like, you know, we're trying to bring those two things together and say like, forget leads. What if I told you that I can get you more sales meetings this month? And some people are like, I don't want that. And that's like, okay, all right, well then you have more internal problems than we can help you with.
Yeah. So speaking of metrics, what are the things that you guys track internally? Because you do things a little bit differently, right? So, I know before we got on here, we were talking about PQLs, product qualified leads, right? So what are the internal metrics that you guys are tracking together, sales and marketing, that matter in your organization and inside the sales process?
We have our top marketing metrics are PQLs, CQLs, and MQLs, right? Everybody knows what an MQL is. PQLs, product qualified, and then we have conversation qualified lead. And what we mean by that is people that have come to the site and either engaged with the bot and answered enough questions to be qualified, or our sales rep has had a conversation with them while they were on our site and they're qualified. So those are all our sort of main capture points. So we measure that, and then we measure how many demos we delivered, how many opportunities we created, and how much revenue we closed, and the number of opportunities we're closing. And so that's what we're hyper focused on. That's what we obsess about. Those are our number one lead sources, is the live engagement. The more live engagement, the better the number is throughout that waterfall. And we've seen it over and over again. And it's because we capitalize on that intent. You can't capitalize more on intent with someone that's on your site and starts talking to you, right? There's no better intent than that. So that's what we optimize for.
Yeah, I think the CQLs, the people that are on our website, the chat, like people that come in via chat, those convert about twice as high as all the other ones. Right. And it makes sense if you think about why, and yet people still don't want to believe this all the time. And I get it, like, because there's other ways of capturing leads. But this is somebody who literally walked into our store and asked a question. And traditionally, you'd have to have them fill out a form, or they would not do anything. Yeah. Those are the best leads for us. And just to give you a sense of like how much of an impact that has on our business, last month we were able to double the number of bot booked meetings on our website. So not a human, the number of meetings that a bot actually booked for our sales reps, we doubled the number, and we're able to grow, like 50% over last quarter simply because we doubled the number of meetings on our site. Right.
Wow. So, and that's getting rid of forms, having the chat on there, and not having BDRs. So a salesperson gets that chat immediately and runs with it.
Right? That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
So tell us about the current sales process as an individual sales rep, Armin. What's the day-to-day or individual, they get that lead, maybe. Take us from there. What look like?
Yeah, I think the toughest part is like, again, like I said, I had the 6-step sales process that I learned from Sandler or Force Management or all the other, sales trainings over the years. And although we had to maintain some level of principle in understanding what journey that customer is on, we couldn't inflict that on the customer. So we have a conversational sort of qualification process. And what we ask reps to do is they have a certain number of questions that they have to weave into the conversation, so that by the end of the conversation, they're at a point where the customer has enough information to make a decision. And that's more art than science. And we've tried to over science, I think, the sales process by having, you have a 6-8 sales process. It's a discovery, and then it's qualification, and then you're going to propose, and then you're going to have a negotiation, and then you're going to have a close, right? And so we do that, and those principles are there, but it's not this process that they're going to mark it out in Salesforce, and we're going to have 6 questions attributed to every single stage in the process, and it's going to take a long time. And the reason why is, what we learned was, so we had just had the conversation. We started learning how to sell this stuff all last year. Then we had new people come in, and a lot of the salespeople that we hired had that mental model in their head of sales process, and they weren't doing as well. And we're like, why the hell? These are good sales reps. They know what they're doing. And what we found out was they're trying to apply the old way. And what we found out, the key to that was, it triggered in the mind of the buyer, oh my God, I'm in the same sales process as I'm in every single other time, and it's going to be 6 weeks, and we're going to have 7 calls, and I'm going to have to include other people, and I'm going to ask somebody else. And so it triggered the old way of doing things in the conversation and in the mind of the customer. And when we didn't do that, we found that people were like, hey, so let me ask you a question at the end of this conversation, at the end of the conversation, let me ask you a question. Have you seen enough to make a decision? Oh yeah, I think it's pretty good. Like if it was $500 and it was monthly, and then there was no commitment after that, is that enough for us to just get started now? Do you have a credit card that we can start? And that's it. And the customer's like, yeah, that makes sense. And then there's not a lot of pressure. It's very lightweight. There's not a lot of process involved in it. And that's the way people want to buy. Like when DG said, like, I get an Uber, I pick up the phone, I already have my credit card attached to it, I know what service I'm going to get, and I'm going to buy it, and that's it. And so we try to mimic that process of like, you have some sense of what we want, what we can do. I'm going to answer the questions that fill the gap between what you know about us and what is going on in your organization today and how we help. And at the end, you decide whether or not you want to go forward.
Do it on a minimum term. You can let people sign up monthly.
That's right. And the reason, I think there's a couple of reasons. Number one, we're bringing a new way of doing things, not only a new product, but a new way to market. And so to tell people I need an annual commitment out of you would slow the process down. Again, it would be like, oh, well, we're going to change our whole marketing process and we need to get on the same page, and we need, like, forget it. Like, trying to sell this product that way, we would not be anywhere close to where we are today.
The honest answer is the reason we can sell monthlies is because it works, right?
That's,
like we're not trying to like bait and switch you and get you into an annual, because we know we have confidence in, like, look, I can tell you, Max, the second you guys put this on your website, you're going to get more meetings. And they're like, okay, prove it. And then more often than not, within 7 days, we get an email from somebody who's like, we just generated our biggest opportunity of the quarter. And we're like, oh my God, we didn't charge them nearly enough, right? So I think the month-to-month thing matches how people want to buy. Of course, like if I'm going to be honest on the webinar, like, would we want all of them to be annuals and have never any churn? Of course, we would love that. Our investors would love that, right? But that's not the reality of it. And so you have to compete on a good product, right? And so we have a good product. And if the product is shit, it doesn't matter what the marketing process is or the sales process is, because the second they go out and use it, they're going to leave. And so nobody wants to give, I think we've gone away from like giving that enough credit. Like, you have to. The other reason we've grown so fast is because, like Armin said earlier, like, good marketing, good selling. But when you're selling something that people want and has real value, then that just changes everything. Like, we've all been at companies where the things we were marketing or selling we probably didn't really believe in, and that makes it a lot harder. Right.
So what's the job of customer success then at that point? Is it to grow? I mean, how does your pricing work, and how does customer success then work with a company that's maybe signed up for a 1 month? That $500 1 month.
Yeah, it's an evergreen monthly contract, so they can get out at any time, kind of like Netflix or something else. They can jump out at any time. So it's not a 1 month, but it's just a monthly, right? And so the goal, and I think customer success is a competitive advantage for us. Most companies sort of sell and walk away, or they give you like a 30-day training or train you on the tool. We don't train you on the tool. We will train you on the tool, but customer success is focused on getting you the result you said you wanted. When we talked about that, like, kind of one metric, our customer success team is focused on getting you that metric, right? And that's all that matters. All that matters is, can I get you to that value point as fast as possible? Not, can I train you and being an expert on the tool that I'm selling you, right? Who cares if you're an expert or not? What they care about is, did I get the result? And that's what we're hyper focused on. And then after that, we'll figure out if you want to buy more or not. That happens organically. We don't incentivize our customer success team to try to sell you more. That comes from you, not us.
Okay. And you do talk about focus here. I think you were super focused in the first year. You said no to partners. You said no to enterprise. How did you stay so focused? And what was the key focus? Why didn't you, do integrations or partnerships early on?
Yeah, I think we got out in the market. We released LeadBot, we released MeetingBot, and we said we have to prove that we can sell this. What's that process? What's the value that the customer sees? And so we had to iterate on that a lot. And so we needed to stay really focused. And then once we did that, we had to say, okay, can we do this at scale? And does it provide repeatable value to the market? If we started chasing a bunch of rabbits during that process, I don't think we would have isolated those pieces. And again, I think it comes not from, I think the focus comes from us being focused on the customer, not on ourselves, right? And so we're focused on driving value to our customer and making sure that they're successful. And that's what we stayed focused on, not like what other revenue streams can we chase down the road, right? We knew that those would come if we could build that repeatability of success with our customers first, right?
Yeah, I mean, I honestly, the answer is just focus, right? Like, I think if we are, David, he always reminds us, like, you guys are trying to do, I don't know. He goes, I don't know. You're just trying to do too many things at once. Like, my spidey senses are off. Like, you're trying to do too many things. And he's a pain in the ass about it, but he's right. Yeah. And that means, like, if we're going to say, okay, we just launched a new product, We just hired 5 new sales reps. We're testing a new vertical. We're testing partners. We're testing a price. Like what are we testing, right? And so, and I think it's because both David and Elias are engineers, and they have like the mindset where like you need one variable, right? Like what's the variable that you're testing? And so we said, look, we can grow a good enough business without partners. And so let's nail down like let's nail down this inbound, you know, high velocity, 90%, 80% inbound lead driven sales motion. Let's get that cranking. And then the hard part is then people are like, yeah, but when do you know? And it's like, you just know, right? And so 6 months ago, we had hundreds of people who have emailed us trying to resell Drift or be partners. And so we're like, okay, you know what? We're finally ready to do this. We broke off somebody from a team here and we did it. And I think this is a mistake that a lot of companies make early on is they want to sell to the enterprise and to SMB and to mid-market and have a partner channel and do co-marketing. It's like, pick your one thing, nail that to a certain point, and then move.
I think the other piece on the partner side specifically is that I personally didn't want to have an insulating factor between me and the customer, right? Yeah. We were on the journey of learning way too much to have somebody else that I can't see every day and I can't talk to every day and learn and iterate with them. We used to have daily stand-ups with our sales team. Okay, what'd you learn today? What'd you try today? Okay, oh, that worked? Everybody do that tomorrow. Let's see if that works, right? There's no way I could have that other variable of somebody or a series of people outside the organization doing that and not getting that feedback and iterating. The time that it would take to get that feedback loop going and right, it would take too long. So we needed to figure it out for ourselves first.
Just because he mentioned that, I want to mention that because that's something that I'm proud that we did, which was, so Armin got the whole, we don't do it anymore because the team is too big, but probably for the first year and a half, every single day at 5 o'clock, the whole sales team met and they, you know, grabbed a beer, grabbed a snack, and everyone went around the room and talked about what they learned that day. They would share all their numbers, you know, meetings booked, demos, learnings from the day. And then like marketing would start going to that. And I really felt like that's when we became this one unit.
That's right.
Because that's when you get all the bullshit out of the way. If I'm sitting at this meeting and I hear 15 sales reps talk about how we don't have this one case study, well, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to drop what I'm going to do tomorrow and make that. And so I think like there's so many questions about sales and marketing alignment, and the only answer is really to actually just go and talk to each other. And so I think we had this bond of like, look, they're going to be there every day talking about their learnings. How can we get right in the mix in there with them and work on this together?
I want to get into some questions from the peanut gallery here. And some of these first two are closely aligned. So peanut gallery. Do you actually close deals via chat, or is it an acquisition channel for booking meetings? And I guess the second part of that is what % of those chats turn into instant video chats using, you know, a product like Zoom?
Those are great. Those are my favorite ones.
They close a lot of deals.
Yeah.
You'll know when they do it because they go, one chat close.
Yeah. So we do. Yeah. So we do live. So the outcomes of the live engagement are we make a sale. We have or we do a video demo right then and there. And that's my favorite one because right when the video starts, I have them say every single time, I'm like, hey, you just got the demo. And they're like, wait a minute, you didn't show me anything. I said, listen, you just came to my site. The bot asked you a question. I jumped in and answered it. And then I said, hey, do you want to get on a live video? And we did. And now I'm doing a demo for my product to you within the first 3 minutes of you hitting my site. Imagine what that would do for your business if your reps could do that, right? And that's it. That's the demo. So the outcomes are a meeting booked, a sale, a video demo, or the bot books the meeting on like nights and weekends, or when reps are busy and can't, or like doing other demos and can't make it, right? So those are the outcomes that we have.
Yeah, they actually send a payment link through chat. So if you came to our website right now, you say, hey, I saw you on the Sales Hacker webinar, I want to buy Drift. Somebody would send you a payment link.
Yeah,
that's amazing. And speaking of kind of tech stack there, what is in your individual tech stack for Drift? So Dave in yours and Armin in yours.
So for us, I mean, we run the whole business on WordPress is our website, Drift is chat and email, and then Salesforce is our CRM. That's right. That's it.
That's right. And we use Zoom for video.
Zoom for meetings. Okay. I think a lot of people look at Drift and think of the chatbot stuff, but we now have a whole platform. We have marketing email, we have sales email, we have email tracking. We have calendar. We do it all through Drift. Plus, we still need some help from Salesforce on the CRM side, which is always a real pleasure.
How do you decide who gets?
I love Benioff. He doesn't. Yeah.
Mark, if you're listening, I wish he was watching so he could be offended.
That's right.
Mark, I'll follow up with you.
There you go. How do you decide internally which rep gets the chat? Is there like a lead routing function?
Yeah, there's two things. So because we integrate with Salesforce, if the visitor is known, we check Salesforce in the background and we'll alert the rep that's assigned to that account that person's on the site, and then we'll forward it to them.
That was one of the things that we learned early on, which is like when we had 3 reps, it was fine, but it's cool. That's the coolest part about dog fooding our product is we have to build all this basically when it happens to us. Right. And so the second we had 5 reps and they all needed an owner. So now everybody gets round robin through Salesforce, But like if I'm a sales rep and Sales Hacker is accounting my name, you'll see my face when you hit our website. I'll get a notification that you're there.
And if it's unowned, it just round robins. We have a round robining rule that allows both in Drift and we use Salesforce as a backup to round robin that to reps if it's unowned.
Awesome. So I want to give everybody a chance to go in and ask questions right now. And while they're doing that, I want to ask you one last question. Hindsight 2020. What would you go back and change now after the past 2 years?
That's a good question. I don't know. You know what? I think one thing that I would go back and change is probably so first of all, the answer is really nothing because it's no. From the outside, it looks like a lot of hype, but like this is just it's an absolute rocket ship. And so to say that like we should go back and change something, I have no idea if that would alter the case of history. So I'm not going to touch it. But I think we could have gotten specialized probably a little bit earlier, and we said, hey, Armin, we're going to break off some marketing budget for enterprise, for mid-market, for SMB. We've just opened up the funnel, which I think has let us grow really fast. But I think, now I think we could have gotten a little bit more specialized earlier on.
I think we could have hired a little bit faster. We saw some momentum early on. And I think, and I did it, and then DC did it. We both there's no way that we can hire that many people that fast. And we slowed ourselves down probably a little bit by just that disbelief of I've never seen anything grow this fast. And so there's no way we can grow that fast. And then all of a sudden we said, screw it, let's hire some more people. And boom, even the latest people that we just hired, we hired a cohort of 4. 2 of them got to their fully ramped quota in the first 30 days that we're here.
Wow, that's amazing. And another question from me real quick before we get into these, because now I have more. So you have a head of marketing, head of sales, and a head of growth. What are the borders there? What does that mean?
So there are no borders. There are no borders. We all work really closely together. Yeah. I think we have a meeting on Fridays where the whole management team goes through the whole numbers, and that's everybody. So we have a unique situation where we brought on G, who's our VP of growth, and he's unique in the sense of he's a growth guy who's focused on demand gen. He's done really cool demand gen stuff. And so I think honestly, I think of him as he's a very technical marketing person. And I think this was just David and Elias kind of looking at the makeup of the team and saying okay, we're strong in sales, we're strong on the brand. Could we plug in somebody who might sit in the middle and be technical? And so I think there is no cookie cutter answer of should you have growth, should you have marketing? It works out for us because G is a very strong technical marketer. And he has engineers on his team, they can do stuff that I can't even make up, and he's doing crazy stuff to generate leads and close deals for the team. And so I think both teams are of service to the sales team to drive revenue.
Right.
Okay. I think of him honestly, I think of him as a superpower for what we do in marketing.
Yeah. And that leads well into a question from the audience here. So what are your top 3 marketing channels, activities to drive visitors to Drift?
Yeah. So the top 3, the top 2 are word of mouth. If I can condense them into 2, and I consider word of mouth our podcast is a really big channel for us. Speaking, events, PR, we do a lot of that stuff. That's kind of all lumped in the word of mouth. Webinars like this are really big for us. But then number 2 was our widget. So Drift on people's websites. We had such a competitive advantage where our product, which we made free and have thousands of businesses using, it says we're powered by Drift on it. And so every time somebody sees that on your website, they can then click that and they come back to our website. And so that was about 30% of our traffic and 30% of our lead volume, which is that just initial virality for the product.
And I'm going to let DC on Thursday get into the 2 T's thing. So I won't ask you about
You should ask him about that, because I'm the one that had to deal with the nightmare of trying to get us to rank for Drift with 1 T's on the first page of Google. So let's make sure we ask him about that, why he did that.
Write that down for Scott. I'll tell Scott that one's got to be it. Your sales team uses a lot of video. Is that something you found to be crucial in your sales process?
100%. We're all about faces, just like I said before about having that human connection. Doing the sales demo, having any sales call with video, we found it easier to have a human conversation, drop down the guard of people, and people pay attention more. Like if you're on, I don't know if you've ever been on a sales call and you're not on video and you're tinkering with your phone, you're doing some other email, you're half listening, and you can't do that when you're on the video call. And so we really capture people's attention. We build that relationship and trust through the video. So I think it's critical. We make sure everybody uses it. It's one of the first things you learn when you're here. Video goes on every single time you're on a call. Awesome. No matter if the other person turns it on or not, don't care.
So your rep is always.
We're always showing. That's right.
That's great. And it's always through Zoom.
That's right.
And that's
so for emails, we'll drop in Vidyard. Shout out to Vidyard. What's going on?
That's also in your tech stack.
That's
and then
right.
When you're emailing, are you emailing through a engagement platform? Are you emailing through Drift?
Yep, we email through Drift. Yep.
Okay, cool. So, and we have another one here, a similar style, but is your most successful lead gen channel LinkedIn?
No. But everybody asks that, which is cool because it's not. It's not only because there's no real direct response element of LinkedIn. Like I don't post something on LinkedIn and then we get back. We do some crazy stuff like comment on this video and be the first to get X, Y, and Z, and then we'll have people reach out to them. I think of LinkedIn. LinkedIn to me is like a brand channel. It's awareness. It's an awareness thing. Right.
Okay. And I think probably last question of time.
Wait, Max, on the lead gen stuff though, the one thing that I don't explain enough is we spend probably $2,000 a month, if that, on paid marketing. Like it's non-existent today, and so that's because we have a strong brand and we've grown through word of mouth, and so that makes people uncomfortable because typically people want to know like we spend $5,000 on G2 Crowd and $7,000 on AdWords, and AdWords is the most effective channel. And so like I never have a really good answer for what our number one lead gen channel is because our number one lead gen channel is our brand.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And you guys do a really good job of that because it's not just the brand, it's the culture you built and getting the reps to do those types of things for you. And that's what continues to build that brand, right? So,
yeah, and if if I could show you our Google Analytics, you would see it growing like this, and the bucket that keeps growing, 20-30% month over month is the organic stuff.
But you do a lot of content, like you said, the podcast, you do blog posts, you do conferences. Are you guys like big into SEO as well? Is that
we are not big into SEO, which has been a little bit of a controversial take for the SEO people out there, mainly because the industry that we were coming after was live chat, and we didn't want to be in the conversation with live chat. And so number one, it was live chat, and number two, we're a marketing automation platform, and like to think that we're going to outrank Salesforce and HubSpot and Marketo, who have 10 plus years of domain authority built up is crazy. So we focus on brand. From an SEO perspective, you'll see like our branded terms are big, and then obviously conversational marketing.
Okay. Last question from here. How's your marketing team broken up? Content people, paid acquisition.
Yeah. Today we have today it's actually one team that is everybody's a little bit specialized. We're probably in the next month or so, we're going to start to actually build out pods and specialize into like areas. So we have, a writer, we have two writers, events person, SEO person, video person, web developer, product marketer. Like it's all kind of been like one. But now we're going to probably reorg the team a little bit and build pods as we scale and make sure we can support the sales team in the right way.
Will you separate the community function from marketing, so your events and the Drift community that you're building, or keep it as?
To me that's marketing. That's a big piece of our brand, and so we'll have somebody that I think events online and offline is one thing, but then community is like community is I think different, which is online, and so we have somebody who's Sarah who does an amazing job building our community.
Awesome. Well, thanks guys. We're at the 2:59 mark here. We have some questions for you that we'll send over afterwards that can get answered individually that are product related leads for you.
Well, go to drift.com. Don't ask us. We don't know anything. Go to drift.com. Tell them that you were here and then ask.
Awesome. So Coleman Groves, you got to go to Drift. Max
Come on,
Walters.
Coleman. Come on.
Coleman, you're in a sales cycle now.
Hell yeah. Thank you so much for joining us today, guys. That was awesome.
Thank you. Thanks for doing it.
Yeah.
Shout out to the sales hacker community.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.